All right, guys, so welcome to this episode of Beers and Breakdowns.
Yo! What's up?
In this episode, we're going to do the part 2 to Killers. We weren't going to do it at first because I just thought I was just in love with the first 25 minutes of this movie. I think it's epic. I love the realism. And I think that's kind of my thing now is if I'm going to watch a military movie, I want massive amounts of realism and tactics as much as possible. It's become my favorite thing. So when it's like super Hollywood, I just check out. I hate it so much. And this one just came out of left field for me and was just so much immense realism that I was just in love. I love this movie. And a lot of you guys after the first one were like, please do part 2. And you started talking about some parts of the movie that were really cool too, is that about the character development. And you're like, hey, you know, he was this by the book guy and he was always spot on. And as soon as he made his first mistake, because he never makes mistakes, he's never missed before, his whole thing starts spiraling out of control. And then so I rewatched and I was like, oh, you guys were right. And that was such a good point and it's such a good nuance to pick up because he starts making such stupid tactical mistakes along the movie, which makes me love the movie even more, right? Because we're all human, we all make mistakes. But you guys picked up on that nuance that, hey, he was just by the book, but the minute he got thrown off, his mind went out of whack because he's a guy he likes things exactly in order, and then he just starts making these tactical errors. And I think that's something that we could pick up on, you know, in Hollywood. It's like, hey, characters can make mistakes and they can develop in the negative way, and they can backtrack in their tactics as long as we have a reason why and it makes sense because we're trying to humanize people.
Yeah.
And we're trying to humanize the characters. So I am helping somebody. I'm not going to say who. What?
Just a serial killer out there? A prospective
Oh, no.
Oh, what do you mean?
No, with advising.
Oh, okay. He's like, I am helping somebody with this movie.
Sorry.
It may be a shadow, just dude that just wants to be a serial killer that's sitting around.
No, somebody really, really cool reached out, asked for my help with a huge project that they have going on, and I'm so grateful. I thought it was like the biggest honor for this person to come out and be like, hey man, like what you do, I love the reviews, can you help, you know, advise my movie? And I was like blown away that somebody would ask me that, and I was just like, I'm ecstatic. And so I want to take a lot of these things that from the movies that I really like and help give that advice to this person who's been really receptive and amazing so far. You know, because I want to see that stuff play out in more Hollywood movies. Is can we have characters that make mistakes and then pay for those mistakes and have flaws? And this person in particular is responsible for some amazing characters you guys would know and love. And those characters had mistakes and had weaknesses and all this stuff. But I just love it when people do the right thing, I guess is the long way of saying that. So I'm gonna stop rambling. Thanks for watching this episode. We appreciate you guys. If you like the show, if you want to see certain things, drop comments down below. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs down if you don't like it. Tell us why you don't like it, whatever. Just engage in the comment section because truly that's what makes these videos fun.
Do something.
Let's move on to this episode. So, first timestamp, let's hit it.
Ooh. Somebody was watching it. I love Michael Fassbender.
I really do. Him as Magneto.
He's a Le Mans driver.
All right, so a couple great tactical things that he did here. One thing that was a mistake, Hollywood mistake, wasn't his fault. It wasn't like the writer's fault. I think they just forgot. He already press checked it.
Yeah, so cocking the gun once you got back over there, obviously something he would do with the get-go, right? You need to have a
he would have just
weapon.
sent a round off to the side.
Oh, okay.
So he already press checked it, so you're making sure a round is in the chamber, right? So you just, as we call it, press check. For those of you who don't know, a lot of you do already know. I'm not insulting your intelligence. For those of you who don't know, a press check is you're just pulling back the slide just enough to see that there's a round already chambered, right? Sometimes people will carry not one already chambered. So you'll do a press check, make sure it's in there, make sure it's seated, all good. So he does a press check. He's like, cool, I got a round in the chamber. I'm good to go. And then he gets all the way around to essentially getting ready to assault the house. And he does the typical Hollywood rack the slide, which would have sent that round out of the chamber. And now he's just down one round that he had.
But even if he was doing a press check, he would have done that at the car. He wouldn't have waited until he got to the house, right? Because he's not. You need to be ready to fire. I'm assuming if you're.
It's a super Hollywood move, but that's the one thing that irritates me is when Hollywood does these things, because Hollywood.
Yeah.
It ruins it for us that are watching. Going, we're in it with the character. We're on this fight together. They can't make these mistakes.
Right.
Like you guys are at this high level. You can't make these little silly mistakes.
Yeah.
Because it pulls us out of the thing, and we go, oh, Hollywood.
Yeah.
You want to avoid that as much as possible. But the good things that he did, there's a lot of good tactical things. Obviously, again, they over exaggerated. The footprints are like he jumped into the sand. And then there's like 50,000 cigarette butts on the floor.
Would it be faint?
It would be a really faint footprint at that point. You got to think wind is blowing over the sand. People don't stomp that hard when they walk, though. You get like a little bit of a heel, a little bit of a toe. Tracking comes in when you start seeing where the toe is pushing off to see which direction and stuff like that. But it would be way fainter of a footprint, and there'll also be maybe, 2-3 cigarette butts, one max. Somebody stops at that spot, has a cigarette, and tosses it. It may not be right in the path, it may be over there. But I really like that. He's looking. Another huge tactical thing that I love about this scene is he doesn't get in his Jeep, open his own gate, and drive up to the house. That would have really bothered me, right? Because as soon as somebody, if they're still in the house, they're going to hear that Jeep coming up the driveway, and you lose all the tactical advantage because not only do they know you're coming, they see your avenue, and they know your avenue because there's only one driveway in. So now they could start presenting all their fire and focusing all their fire on that driveway, and you're cooked. So if they have ARs, you're driving in, goodbye. That guy's it's essentially a fatal funnel that you're putting yourself in.
Yeah.
So you could eliminate that fatal funnel by just going on foot, and now you could start pieing the entire house. You could stay in the tree line, and you can get a view on the house. You could pie over here. You can come back over here, and you can start getting a visual on what's going on inside the house and see who's inside, where they are, how many people you're dealing with. Is there vehicles in there? Do you have multiple combatants? What kind of weapons do they have? Is the best approach from the backyard because they're all hanging out in the front getting ready to leave? So you could start making your game plan with eyes on. So you're getting intel before you're committing. So him running on foot, exactly what I would have done. Okay, so you picked it up, the one-handed thing. That's not my critique exactly. I can vibe the one-handed thing for a particular reason, but there's a glaring issue that I can't vibe with his clearing. So the one-handed thing, I could understand wanting to stay one-handed, and I'm already doing what I'm trying to correct him. What I would have corrected him on if I was there is I could vibe that one hand for a particular reason. One is the main reason is so I have that hand to use.
Right.
So like if I'm committed both hands all the time and somebody jumps out, I'm essentially stuck in that position. But if I have one hand, I can always have that to stop, shoot, and then it creates space essentially. So we always have separations of space. Space is huge. That one hand, he ends up using it to turn off. That one hand becomes the accessory hand, right?
Yeah.
So it was a little weird how he didn't move it at all.
He hung it really low.
Hung it really low. It was strange, but it doesn't bother me. What bothers me about this one tactically is his, and it's not that big a deal. This is nitpicking for sure, but it's just understanding how you clear. When you're clearing with a pistol or any rifle or anything, when you're clearing, you don't clear with your muzzle. And they tell you you're not painting a wall, right? So that's kind of you don't paint a wall with your muzzle.
Okay.
That's what they tell us in training, is you clear with your eyes. Because if you think about walking into a room, if I'm painting the wall with my muzzle, and then you pop up, and I have to. So let's say right now you pop up here.
The amount of space you have to cover from this side to that side.
All the way over to here to see you is time. But if I clear with my head, I'm there instantly. And so if I can get there fast, now I can transition to shoot, because I don't have to be fully presented to shoot.
Right.
If I turn to my left and see you, I could shoot like this, bam, 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 and then present. So stage 1, stage 2, full presentation.
Right. So even if it's suppressive, you can still shoot something off in that direction to make them stop. Yeah.
But you can't shoot something you can't see. So the most important thing is that your eyes go first. So when you're walking into a room, I don't want to be full presentation because I'm too committed. I'm over committed.
Yeah.
I want to be pulled back, muzzle forward if I'm clearing, muzzle down if I'm teammates in front of me.
Right.
So they call it low ready. So low ready is muzzle facing towards the ground, and I'm clearing this way, but I could pivot like a tank. Muzzle forward if I'm self-clearing, which is something we had to do in law enforcement a lot, but military typically doesn't ever have to self-clear. That's something I had to learn to get comfortable with in law enforcement, is going in a one-man stack or a one-man or two-man stack, which is really uncomfortable at first because there's so many things that you can't clear, and you just have to accept that, well, this is more likely, and I'm going to have to accept that as a risk.
Yeah.
So, sorry to be a dead horse, but I'm trying to teach you guys when you're clearing something. Clear with your eyes.
I'm learning right now. Yeah. What are you talking about? We're all learning.
And this is how I feel when we do this shows. I'm here to teach you guys. So if you ever pick up a gun or have to defend yourself, you could use what I taught you. And don't paint the room. You're not painting the room. Clear with your eyes. Keep your muzzle close. If you see something, turn. You can shoot here, or you can present, but you clear with your eyes, not your muzzle. And then. So you're just going to keep it compact. You could do it one hand. The only issue with one hand is you could start getting ahead of yourself and being reaching out, but then you're flagging yourself. So you could end up shooting your own hand. That has happened before. Don't think it hasn't. So if you're going to do the one-handed thing, be aware. My personal comfort is I'd rather just stay two hands. And if I'm going to do the one hand, I'll be exaggerated about this is where this hand can go. It doesn't block over here. If I have to block over here, I'm going to use the muzzle. I can muzzle strike, I could stop you, I can create space, replace, and then shoot. So just things to be aware of, but clear with your eyes, don't paint the room.
Some John Wick shit.
Yes, sir. All right, so I want to ask you guys, leave their comments down below. Where would you, and don't answer this like perfectly if you have a safe location, don't tell anybody. But what would be your ideal locations? Because multiple is obviously better. And what would you have in it? Put that down in the comments below. Because I think this is awesome. I think the fact that he has it in his yard is a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Because listen, there's no right or wrong answer. But if someone's going to completely ransack your house, the last thing you want them to do is finding your safe.
Yeah.
Because they're going to take it with them, or they're going to breach it, and they're going to take all your stuff. Maybe, everything is just a tactical consideration. So what if your house is on fire and you weren't at the house? What if somebody's inside your house and then you're coming up onto the scene and now you have to get to it? So it's just all tactical considerations as far as where you're going to put your safe, where you're going to put your extra guns. Because if you have, dude, honestly, if you're in this scenario where you're going to depend on a stash, you're going to have tons, dude. Yeah. You're going to have them everywhere. The more, the merrier.
Oh, we talked about this today. I got a stash. You got to have a stash, man.
Actually,
if you're planning for anything, you got to have something somewhere.
Abel did tell me today that he has a stash, and I was actually thoroughly impressed by how tactical it was. Like, he has a stash. You got
to have something somewhere, man. Life comes at you fast.
I was impressed. I was like, dude, that is the most tactical thing you've ever said. Like, all we need to do is add a couple of things, and you're going to look like a CIA operative, dude. We need to add some things to that stash. Like, so I thought it was really cool to have it in the yard. It's just a different take.
I think that was pretty cool, yeah.
Right?
Also very believable. Nobody would ever find it.
Right.
Nobody's going to refute that. Oh, if they walked out in the yard, they would have found it. No, nobody
nobody's
could have ever possibly known that was there unless they already knew that he had it and they sat out there with metal detectors, right? Like,
the one guy's got his gun and he's got a metal detector. Beep, 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 beep.
It's like, okay, like, it's not going to happen.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good idea.
And do you think that's his only one? Obviously not. He's probably got one upstairs. He's probably got one downstairs. He's probably got
one in the backyard. He's probably got one in the side yard. You know
Right.
what I mean? Once you reach that level, you have to have all these contingencies. Like, what if somebody comes and rips your yard apart for some other reason, and then now you have another one on the side? Like, you have to have that going. But
yeah, so I thought that was really cool to just show it in the yard, digging it up. I don't know if I would have went fingerprint for the one that's being buried. And that just may be something that's wrong, that I wouldn't want the dirt and getting wet and all that stuff to eventually mess with the fingerprint reader. I would want something a little more analog, maybe something push button to not get messed up by just soaking in dirt and water.
I think it's all susceptible to the weathering,
Yeah,
right? Like, I don't see how like a keypad would be less susceptible to the dirt seeping in and all that stuff. Like,
Okay.
I think it's all gonna fail. So,
But this is tactics. This is what you do is you think through all the potential problems. So if all of those mechanical devices are going to fail due to weather, then I wouldn't use a mechanical device. Are you really worried about somebody finding your safe and then getting access to it?
Yeah.
Or should you just bury it in sealed containers?
yeah.
So why not just have vacuum sealed gun, passport, money, gold, whatever you need
true.
in a vacuum sealed buried in the yard?
Yeah.
Then you don't have to worry about anything failing to allow you to get into it. So I like that part because it's just a subtle covering your tracks kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah, it looks like a robbery. It looks like
Exactly.
tearing things apart, throwing papers everywhere. They're looking for something.
Right.
Clearly not a serial killer there for one specific piece of paper or
document
information.
Yeah. So you wouldn't believe. First of all, I was a cop, but second of all, I'm a huge true crime buff. Like, I watch all of them on TV. I love them. I've watched way too many. I've listened to way too many podcasts. You wouldn't believe how much officers, detectives look for the obvious. Like, they want the obvious because most of the time the truth is the obvious.
Yeah.
You walk in, the place is ransacked, money is taken, someone was shot, it was a robbery. But they get so used to it being the obvious that it really gets easy to throw detectives off by just taking something. So they'll walk into a scene and someone will be shot and they'll be like, but nothing was taken. Their wallet was still on them. They had a $100 bill in their pocket. It's not a robbery. Well, it could have been, but you don't know what they took. You don't know what they're looking for. Cops don't have the detectives don't have the time to be digging too deep like that. Yeah. So if you just go surface with it to throw them off and just take their watch, take their wallet, take their money, which later he does. He takes the wallet, takes the cash, and throws the wallet on the floor. It just makes it's almost too easy. 5930?
Each and every step of the way, ask yourself, what's in it for me? This is what it takes. What you must commit yourself to if you want to succeed. Simple.
Dude.
Need any help getting rid of that body?
So morbid.
She can't even contain it.
Oh,
I
no.
love that scene, dude. I love it. But his whole body removal plan is genius.
Yeah.
There's layers to the genius of this. First of all, the practicality of you have to get the body out.
Right.
And that is extremely difficult to do without people noticing you.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like carrying bags, suitcases. There's real killers that have been caught where a witness is like, yeah, this guy was carrying out like 4 suitcases.
Yeah.
And he was struggling to get a suitcase into the back of his vehicle. And they'll tell the police that. And then they end up getting caught because there was bodies filling the suitcase.
Right.
So that alone was genius. The second layer of genius on this is people do not like to look at workers.
No.
Because they feel guilty. Whether it's a trash guy, I don't know about you, but I like to tip my trash guys. I say what's up to my trash guys. When the UPS guy comes, I don't just be like, hey, you gotta, those boxes got to get picked up. I help
water.
I help them load it, give them water, whatever. But people feel uncomfortable when somebody is doing like menial, I guess, task for them. Like mowing their lawn, they're like avoid eye contact, or taking out their trash or things like that. They don't want to make eye contact with them because they almost feel like guilty about it because this person's have to work hard for a living, and you're like, oh, I don't want to have that interaction. So that just plays into his character that you're going to avoid looking at him and noticing him and seeing what his face looks like because you're trying not to make eye contact. You're like, oh, this guy has to take out the trash. Let me just pretend like I don't contribute to all that trash that he has to do, So I just love the simplicity of it, and we just are in. We don't have to think about it. We have to go, oh, would that work? Like, no, obviously that would work. That's super smart.
You want me to help you get rid of that body?
Yeah, it's just
she's like in a dire situation, and she's still like...
Her laugh was so perfectly like afraid,
but I can't help but laugh.
Can't help but to laugh at how terrible her situation was.
Yeah.
It was so good. It's almost the simplest things, right? So when people
very
pull
small
off,
thing like that, that just makes it like, yeah, that would happen.
Yeah.
Right. Like I would laugh knowing I'm gonna die soon.
Yeah.
I'd still be like, like obviously I think life laughs at us. Like this is clearly a case of
this is a joke.
This is like the devil laughing at me right now. This has to be it.
Trust no one. Fight only the battle you're paid.
I love this scene.
I love this scene so much.
Dude, and that
He
Samoan
gets
is
the
huge.
shit kicked out of him, which rightfully so. That guy is so big.
Yeah.
That I don't care how much you know, which he's doing. He's faring well in the fight. Granted, he's a full-grown male. He's strong, but what are you gonna do, right? If that guy wants to pick you up and throw you, he's gonna pick you up and throw you.
He'd be picking me up, and I'd be like, but I'm a Green Beret. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. Yeet.
He'd be like, hand movement. He's like, just throw you, and then you're off. But
dude, and the one thing that's funny is this whole movie, he's been attaching a compensator to his pistol and then shooting it like a suppressor.
Okay.
And so compensator's not there for noise reduction. It's there to direct the gases as they come out of the end of the barrel in order to, like, either they have multiple purposes, right? So it's just the end of your barrel, and you could cut slots in it in order to control recoil. You could have it completely solid in order to direct all gases forward, so that way you're not shooting the noise and compressive and the gases out to the side if you're shooting next to somebody. So compensators are there to adjust the gas flow for whatever purpose that you're hoping for, but they do not reduce noise. They actually make it louder sometimes. So the fact that he's been using this compensator the entire movie as a suppressor is just hilarious. Like, does it look cool? Yes. But if you had this small of a suppressor that worked that well, you would be owning the market on
millionaire.
suppressor.
Yeah.
You would be a multi-millionaire because everyone else's has to have, long tubes in order to suppress that much sound. Because they got to get through all the baffles and they have all the baffling inside the suppressor.
Yeah.
So it's a closed system, and they're expensive, and you have to pay a ton of money just to get authorized to get them.
But if you watch this scene, he barely makes it out of this house with his life.
Right.
Which is so accurate to at least like to the. I mean, I would have bet that he wouldn't have made it out. Right. Like this guy is so huge that he's just throwing him around like a rag doll. You're not going to get through that like John Wick, like dare I say, like the chick from Lioness. Like you're not.
Zoe Saldana from.
Not Zoe, the other one.
Don't talk about her.
The
Don't
main
ever bring her
character
up.
from. Anyway.
We don't talk about her.
It makes sense that he would barely even live through this experience, right?
Right.
Even though he's an experienced killer, so is he. Right. This guy is a killer. This guy is hired. This guy was sent to go to that house to kill his wife, right? Because of him. Essentially sent to kill him if he was there.
Yep.
This guy is not new to the game.
Right.
And he's twice your size and probably very knowledgeable in tactics and fighting. And so it makes sense that you would barely live through this experience, which I loved about this movie.
Yep.
That he didn't go in there and just, oh, well, now I found workarounds. I found a way to get your neck. I found a way to get this. No, he got the shit kicked out of him. It's awesome.
And it was totally believable the whole time. And you guys are the ones that picked that up. You were the ones dropping in the comments saying like, hey, he messed up in the very beginning, and that's leading him to make these mistakes because he's off his game. And I think this is the climax of his mistakes, is going into this house knowing that this guy is a trained killer, knowing that he's got massive friends that have been in and out all day long and he doesn't know if they've left or not. Maybe he does. But also knowing that this guy is huge and that if he doesn't immediately have the tactical advantage over him, he's going to be at a disadvantage. And using that to make a good tactical plan that isn't hoping you see him before he sees you in his own house when you're the one breaking in. You're the one causing noises. He's in his element. So.
I'll never understand the idea that you have to go into the building. Like you have the drop on him. You're the one looking for him. Why would you not get a suppressed rifle, sit outside, wait for daytime, wait for him to come out his normal routine and take him out?
That was a real life lesson that special operations had to learn. We were sending, especially tier 1 guys, like we're going in on hostage rescue, and they were trying to go fast as you possibly can, chase the rabbit, right? Yeah. So we call it chase the rabbit, is when you're going in so quick that I have to track you down as fast as I can, and you're going so fast that before I can get a good shot on you, your number 2 man shoots me. So that's what we call chasing the rabbit. So the first guy just runs in, I'm tracking him, I can't get to him, bam, 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 I get shot by number 2 man. So that was a tactic early on where they're just running in because they got to get to that hostage fast, and they got to eliminate everybody or make sure they're alive and then fight their way out. And then they start to realize that they're just dying because they're just running into fatal funnels at such a high rate that tier 1 operators are getting just schwacked left and right. Tier 2 operators as well, we're doing the same thing. A lot of tier 2 is trickle down from tier 1's experiences. So then we started to realize like, hey, maybe running in isn't the option. Maybe slow and go, maybe tactical call-outs is the way to go, is exactly what you said. Why go inside?
Yeah.
Can we get them out? Can we wait for them to come out? Can we do a tactical call-out where we escalate the escalation of forces until they have no choice but to come out, or we just bomb the whole thing? Oh, just wait for it. Going back too early. This is a whole fight.
That's fine. Just tell me when it's over. Or just stop it when it's over.
Bro, did you see that? You can't see it. He flipped the table over on him. He grabbed his leg and pushed him. The table stool went up his ass.
Oh.
So then when he walks away, the whole time he's bleeding out of his butthole. So he trips him and he doesn't touch the ground. So all like 250 pounds of the Samoan is sitting on his butthole and the upside down table leg. That table leg is up his butt.
Does he keep fighting after that?
Yeah. Watch. Look, it's up his butt.
Oh.
And then it breaks off. And he's got to pull the table leg out of his butt.
Oh, shit. That made me feel something.
Dude, I don't know how I missed that at first.
It makes me... Ugh.
I assumed it like stuck in his leg, and then I rewatched it, and he posts up like he's doing a wall sit because that thing is shoved right up his butt. Yeah. And then he falls to the ground, it breaks, and he pulls it out of his butt. And then he's walking, and he's just bleeding out of his rectum.
Oh, stop. Stop with the rectum butthole.
They did him dirty, dude. Imagine being the guy that went out because you had a stick go up your butt. I want a cooler ending than that. I'm like, we just had this epic fight, and you're going to have a stick get rammed up my butt? Whose idea was this?
It's no bueno. It's gross.
I'm like, time out. No.
It keeps giving me chills. It keeps going right down to the butthole.
I'm like, dude, that table leg is like 4-inch 2x2, man. You think you're going to get a 2x2 up there? That's a virgin booty, bro. They ain't getting a 2x2 up there. Can you get a 2x2 up there?
I don't want to talk about this
You could probably get a 2x2 up there.
Can we go to the next timestamp?
You could fit a 2x2, huh? Are you a 2x2er?
What?
He's a 2x2er. All right, that's how you toss a Molotov cocktail.
Yeah.
So if you guys went back to the Jessica Alba one that we did, trigger warning.
Where everything was a Molotov cocktail.
And he was just like, he, just launching Molotov cocktails like
you gotta
this.
cook it for a sec.
We were just talking about how if you overhand a Molotov cocktail, whatever's coming out of that is on fire. You're lighting yourself on fire, essentially. So you sidearm them to get that distance. You keep it away from you, get that wide arm. That was a beautiful example of tossing a Molotov cocktail. Granted, he threw it like 75 yards, and I don't see that happening. That's a really, with that accuracy, that's a really far, like even looking at it now.
I mean, he is a serial killer.
Yeah.
He is very timed, calculated. It makes sense that he could possibly make
for
a throw
sure,
like that.
For sure. And the technique is spot on. So I'll believe that he hit that shot. But his leg even came up. He was like,
Right.
So
Instead
beautiful
of
Molotov
being good at
cocktail.
throwing stuff, he became a very high-level serial killer. I could believe that.
Yeah, for sure. So if you guys are wondering, when we go back to trigger warning and how not to toss it, that's how you toss it right there.
He's like,
Yeah. He was like Donkey Kong throwing
there's like
barrels.
nothing in the bottle. He's just lighting it on fire and throwing it. It's like, have you ever done that? Dude?
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the episode of Beers and Breakdowns. Thank you guys for recommending doing part 2 because I wasn't going to do it because I was so just stoked on the first half. But I love this movie. And you guys were like, yes, bring back part 2, which gave me the opportunity to talk more about The Killer. And if you haven't seen The Killer, go check it out because we really didn't ruin it with this review. I promise you. The slow burn in the beginning makes it all so worth it. And then your guys' comments about how he kind of derails himself, not hugely and not obviously, I thought just makes it even better. Adds layers to it. It's like an onion.
Like Shrek?
Yeah. I love throwing that in there
Onions
sometimes.
have layers.
Onions have layers. He's like a cake? No, not like a cake.
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Eddie Murphy used to be so funny, dude.
know.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that episode. We'll talk to you later. See you on the
Later,
next
guys.
one. Peace.